Today we're talking via Zoom with Dr. Jamie Edmonds, Director of Clinical Language Institute, CLI, Associate Director at Millikan Center at Arizona State University. He is a clinical assistant professor. Informally, he goes by Dr. J. So Dr. J, thank you for joining me.
Yes, thank you for so much for such a kind introduction.
The topic is Albanian Language Program at CLI, what is unique about it, what it offers, and why it is well worth looking into it now while the enrollments are open. Is that right, Dr. J?
That is right.
Okay.
So
By,
thanks so much. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, let me just say by the end of the talk, we hope that you'll have enough information and you'll take a few minutes to check out the website. We will have the links posted at the end of the video, with the video. And now we can start, but first the quiz. Let's test your Albanian. Good evening, Mimbrama.
Mamba.
Very good. So then I was going to say, if that is, we can give you another word. You can say it now and then at the end of the chat, and that is Miropavshim or Natanemir. Goodbye or good night. We'll say it now and at the end of the conversation. How does that sound?
That sounds great.
Okay. So let me ask you first, who are the students that are interested in Albanian? And then we'll get to the biggest, I think, point, which is what is unique about the program. So first, who are the students? So over the years,
Yeah, of course. I mean, we've had a kind of wide variety of students that have come through the program. I know that in 2023, 2022, we had a PhD student working in linguistics on Albanian language that came through our programs and is doing wonderful work on their dissertation with this. On the other hand, we have members of the Albanian community in the United States who have come uh, for various to kind of reconnect with their roots and their selves and their culture. We also have you know kind of a different language learners from all walks of life and from all across the spectrum that have come through and learned Albanian. Even I think a member of our advisory board actually took Albanian one summer just because he wanted to experience it and experience the amazing work of Linda, but also just the amazing kind of rich tapestry of Albanian language and culture. And so it really runs the gamut. I mean, we have high schoolers, we have traditional undergraduate and graduate students, we have community college students, we have members um, uh, of different communities that all kind of come and make this an interesting uh, program. So anywhere from academics to personal personal interest to
professionals and
just
yes, yeah.
curiosity.
Yes. So what is unique about the program? And that the biggest draw that is, as we know, it's tuition free, but how does that work? So tell us about it a bit more.
Yeah, so I mean, as you've mentioned, it is tuition free in the sense that we have received the grace from ASU to not charge full. We don't have to charge tuition for these classes. We do have fees associated with them that just cover the cost of doing administering the class. But I think what makes this really unique and what we're constantly sort of talking about and thinking about is um, connection and context. That is this opportunity, this program. It's not an online program. We have given online instruction in the past, and this experience that we provide, not just in Albanian, but Albanian in the community of other students learning other languages in the Balkans, but also across Central Asia and across Eurasia more broadly understood, um, gives you this really unique opportunity to engage with a bunch of you know language nerds or people that are interested in that world in a space that you'll never really get to kind of replicate because it's very sparse and spread out. So you get to kind of you get to coalesce in this space of shared community while learning language in a really intense environment. That is, you're going to be at least at a Novus High, if not intermediate low, after 7 weeks of instruction. And you will understand the context of the language. You are not taught language in a vacuum. You're not taught through route memorization. You're taught to read and understand this language from deep within its cultural and historic past.
That's a good point because it is different from a regular college class. Not that Albanian is offered as a regular college class, but there are places like Chicago, Harvard, there are places where you can take class either in different levels within a curriculum. So you make a good point about being an immersive class and having a class that is taught in a different way. But can you tell us a bit more about how does it work? I want to first of all,
Sure.
what is elementary or the beginners rather? It's the beginners level that is taught on campus. Am I right?
Yeah, so I mean, this is the other part that makes us unique, is that we do have a beginner's level where you can do 7 weeks on campus and then 4 weeks in Tirana as an add-on. So you can do either one of those options for first year. And if you do the 7 weeks, you get 8 credits of college, 8 credits of language credit. If you go abroad, you get 11 credits.
Right.
And for price of a fee. But it is this it is different from a university setting in that, I mean, from a traditional classroom in which there's space to do homework, whereas 1 day of instruction during the Critical Language Institute is equal to 1 week of instruction in a more traditional environment. So it is fully kind of, you're in the classroom, but you're also engaging with homework and you're also relating to the culture. And so it sort of absorbs into your skin, if you will, while you're sort of studying it.
And so one more time. So on campus, you have the beginners, and then in
On,
Tirana, the intermediary, and then the advanced is done where? Is there an
so
advanced?
yeah, so we have for the first year we have the option of doing 7 weeks on campus and then 4 weeks abroad. For second year or advanced, we have the option of going 8 weeks to Tirana.
Mhm.
Uh, so it gives you the opportunity, whether you're at first, second, or advanced levels of fluency, to study abroad in Tirana and do a lot of those sightseeing and tour visits while also doing it in Albanian and also learning more deeply about whatever you're seeing, whether it be the town square or archaeological museum or architectural museum, whatever it may be.
So if you talk numbers for someone who's thinking about doing it, what is approximately a budget that they should plan for if
Sure.
they were to join the
So
program
for
or enroll?
so at the first year of instruction, if you don't want to go to Tirana, we charge a flat fee of $1,750. Now we also have specific scholarships for students that want to learn Albanian. And those scholarships are still open and still accepting applications through our links that'll be shared at the end of the video. Um, and
Okay.
if you add the study abroad portion, I don't have those numbers right in front of me.
That's fine. Just a general idea of what it is that they should prepare financially. What is the
Yes, I think it's somewhere in the range. I think it's about 5 or 6 thousand for the total thing. So uh, that's for
right?
housing, tuition, fees, the cost of getting the instruction, as well as a place to stay. But it doesn't cover the plane ticket. So the plane ticket would be an
Yes,
additional cost.
the travel expenses. So, what questions do you get asked frequently about the program? The ones who are taking it, the ones who are thinking of taking it, where do they come? They come up to you and they say, "What, Dr. J? What do I do with it?" Because you mentioned a few other questions in our previous conversation.
Yeah, I mean, but I was thinking about this one student that came to my office recently, and he was really like gung ho. He was just like, I don't know what I want to do, but I want to do this. I want to do the Critical Language Institute. I want to take a language. And he asked all of these, he asked a ton of questions. He was in my office for an hour while I was trying to like work. And he was just like, well, how do I leverage this to get to this?
Yes.
Or how do I choose what I really enjoy? And my answer was not satisfactory to him. But the answer is always we can't predict the future. So if you are interested in Albanian, if you find it a cool place, then start learning the language. Don't make it such a burden of responsibility to decide, and just try and see what happens. Right? I mean, I don't
Yeah,
know
I
what's
like
going to
that point.
come.
If you want to prepare for the future, learn Albanian. So
Yeah,
you
I
can
mean,
give it
but
your best shot. Give it your best
sure.
shot.
I mean, learning Albanian is going to prepare you for the
Right.
future because it's a part of your personal journey. So
Yeah.
it doesn't, who you not. It's naive to think that we aren't going to have to use these things to leverage in the future. And I can tell you that learning a language in an intensive language environment that focuses on connection and context will absolutely make you an outstanding candidate, whether you want to go into some kind of government service, whether you want to serve your community, whether you want to do academic work, or whether you plan to never actually use the language. It just teaches your brain to think in a different way. So you might as well take Albanian because it's interesting and we need more speakers of it.
But yes, that brings me, that's a very good point. An interesting point you made earlier about the Department of Defense. You said that you said it has a short memory, or it's like it's if you want to plan, or if that's it's related to the Balkans and the security and the whole region. Well, now the whole world, but let's focus on the region.
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as I don't claim to know what the Department of Defense's strategic mission is.
Right.
I
Right.
just try to respond to it, right? And I think that like looking at the history of CLI and seeing,
It's the
oh,
anticipation of being ahead of what's
yeah,
gonna.
I mean, but it's also that there were certain fellowships that helped get Albanian language started, and then maybe related to all kinds of funding organizations that then decide they don't want to fund it, not because of anything we're doing, but because they change their priorities,
Mhm.
and then that impacts our ability to continue keeping these languages alive for students when we know that enrollments fluctuate, right? Like I can see in the data that some years it's at 14, some years it's at 3. And sometimes you can predict that, but sometimes you can't. And so there has to be some kind of stability to providing these for students, because think down the road, if we don't have students taking Albanian now, Linda will eventually retire, right? Like we need to have people that can
And that'll
pass
be a
on this
loss to
knowledge.
everyone.
Yes, it'll be a loss for everyone. And so we need to make sure that we're cultivating the next generation of people who can be ambassadors of Albania, whether officially or unofficially.
Yes, talk about the scholarship, Dr. J. I read in the same piece by the SAU news reporter that a dentist from Pittsburgh, if I remember the name, Elaine Berkovitz, she
Yes.
was deployed. It was an interesting story, and that relates to it, tied in with the scholarship. She was searching, she was deployed in the Bond Steel, Camp Bond Steel, with the
Hmm.
U.S. Army Reserves,
Hmm.
and she um, then searched for a program, found the Albanian language program at SAU, and then she took in 2013, and in 2015 she established a scholarship to help the students at Critical Language Institute to make it easier for them. So that was an
Yes.
interesting case I read about, and that was yes. So the what can you tell us?
Yes. So that perfect memory. That is exactly what's happened. And so the Berkowitz Albanian Scholarship is still a part of the offerings from the Malikian Center, and you apply for it as a part of the suite of the Malikian Center Awards program. And our through the generosity of our board, but also some people that really believe in teaching these languages, like Albanian, have given scholarships that can cover they can actually cover the entire cost, or somewhere in between, from 0 to 100, from 0 to 1,750. And so, yes, there are people who are actively supporting Albanian language at the Critical Language Institute. And we would be happy to have people apply so that we can, facilitate Albanian language and culture training while giving them financial support.
So, Dr. J, we're close to the end. If I, as a speaker of Albanian, what would I learn from the program, and how do I register?
Well, well, I don't know where. I'm sure that you are very good at Albanian, so I don't know. I don't
Well,
know.
apparently it's for Albanian speakers as well.
It is. I don't know
Professor
where you
Maniko told
lie.
me that.
It is. She's not wrong. What I would say you get out of it is a different perspective of the Albanian language, which maybe you're stronger in your speaking abilities, but not your writing or reading abilities. I would assume in your case that's not the case. But for
I
those of you
understand. You're
who
making a good point, yes, because there are
those
many who are not as strong in writing, and I don't want to say any family members of mine, but so yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but regardless, the writing and reading, but also remember that the historical knowledge of the Albanian people is in Albanian, right? So we have to be able to not only read it, but also share it with the community through Albanian. And this is extremely important for continuing the legacy.
So, Dr. J, is there anything you want to add? We're coming with, I suppose that we have at the end of the conversation. I want to thank you for all the information you gave us, for the time that you gave us, and I hope that there was enough information and that people pique their interest in picking up Albanian, whether for academic interest or just to explore a language or a history of a rich country and culture. And so let's test your Albanian now again, as we promised in the beginning. Natën e mirë,
Natën e mirë,
that is good night, or Mirupafshin, goodbye.
mirë pafshim.
That's really good. Well, thank you, Dr. J.